CM 365, all about Carnatic music.
Last week, I was teaching a batch of senior students, and while we were learning, everybody was, of course, enjoying the class. But one student who's 50 plus, she remarked that though it was really wonderful learning now, the point was that she was not able to retain in memory the way she would have done probably 20-30 years back. In the sense that she was not even able to grasp as fast as she would have been able to do if she were 20 or 25-year-old. Now this set me thinking about what are the stages of learning and what is the advantage at each stage of our learning. If we look at our childhood days, all of us have learned music from a particular guru, and we have attended music classes. And basically as children, we would only probably kind of absorb whatever is taught to us without reflecting on it or introspecting on it. It was just a process of listening and assimilation. And that is why we also say that for children it is very, very important to have a good guru, because an exemplary guru is one who can really put into you, rather feed into you, all the intricacies of music, all the nuances, without you being even aware that you are absorbing so much. So that is where the greatness of a good guru lies actually. And he actually puts into our mind the nuances of the ragam, talam, and many such aspects which we actually are not in a state to really introspect, but then we absorb everything very, very quickly at this stage. And also the memory is very sharp, so we are able to take into us many things without our even being aware of it. In fact, last week I was also just happened to see a clipping of a super singer, one small boy of about I think 9 or 10-year-old who lives somewhere in a remote village in Rajasthan. The singing and that super singer was going viral, and it was absolutely mind-boggling to hear him sing. Now at this stage I felt that it is only that by hearing intently, and by also, of course, you should be endowed with a good voice. God-given voice is also very important, but the very good listening and absorbing skills is what has made him such a great singer, in spite of the fact that you all would have also, those who have seen that clipping, understood that his mother is a very, very small scale tailor who kind of stitches clothes at home, a very poor family with no musical background at all. But the child was singing in an absolutely amazing manner. So here we see that even we could say that here he may not be even aware of the high level of musicianship that he's having within him, and he was just singing happily. And even in the Carnatic music field we see that there are many such prodigies which you have seen, where they sing or play the instrument effortlessly without their being aware that they are doing so much. Now that is one stage of life. Now coming to a stage of learning, probably at the age of 40 or 50, it's a different kind of a concept, I would say, where you may not be able to grasp in things as quickly as you would have done many years back. But the method of understanding, the method of appreciating the composition is totally different at this stage. For example, here you see that we may be able to, when we are listening to the song or when we are learning the song, the first thing, of course, is that here you would have probably heard that song being sung or played by someone. So the imagery of that particular composition is already there in our mind. That's the first thing. The second thing is, of course, that we also probably, suppose you're learning a new composition in Kalyani, you would have probably learnt a few more compositions in Kalyani earlier. So you try to compare this composition with that, and you see what are the similar phrases, what are the different phrases, how the raga has been handled by the composer, how the composition fits into the talam, what are the lyrics, what is the bhava of the lyrics, what is the poetic beauty embedded in it. So there are so many aspects that we actually try to kind of internalize when we are learning a composition at a later stage, and that benefits are definitely there. So ultimately we see that there are different stages in which we actually assimilate a composition or any form of music for that matter. First thing, of course, is the listening. The more we hone our listening skills and make it sharper, our reproduction will also be much better. So the listening is very important. So if you listen at a very surface level, then you may not be able to grasp the nuances and intricacies. So that listening has to be very, very intent if you have to really sing well. That's the first criterion. The second thing is the method of absorption of what you are listening. Here, when you age, another advantage is that you are also able to read the notation. So here the absorption happens at as twofold, I would say. The absorption is through the oral medium, that is by listening, and also through the visual medium where you have a notation. So you're able to have a guiding or a guidance, through the visual medium of the notation to help you understand the music better. As such, a child of 5 or 4, I'm sure you will not be able to read the notation and all. At that time, you are just learning by listening. But here you have that dual advantage. The next thing, of course, is that to imbibe and absorb whatever you are actually listening. And then at later, this kind of, when you are having experience and age at your advantage, you also learn to introspect that composition. And then we try to reproduce it to our best. And here also we see that through constant practice, we are able to hone our skills, we are able to polish that particular composition well. And then finally, through repeated practice again and again and again, we actually make it our very own. So after a point of time, what happens is that the same composition that we learned from our guru, though it may be the structure, the internal, the thalam, the ragam, everything may be the same. When it falls, or rather when it comes out through our own voice or instrument, it attains a distinct color by itself. So by experience only, we are able to, through age, we are able to put in all those things into our composition as well. And here we could say that though thus we may not be able to grasp the composition immediately, as I said, like when we were in a child, here the method of understanding and appreciating the composition itself becomes totally different, because of the fact that so much has gone into you through your journey in music. From childhood to say probably 50 years means at least about 40 years of listening, 40 years of absorption, then trying to introspect into many things. All this actually reflects into our music. So when you are learning music at a later stage, there is nothing to feel sorry about it, I would say, because of the fact that the way you look at the composition itself becomes totally different here. And our appreciation of the composition also becomes multifold and multidimensional. So thus, at each stage of learning, we see that our method of absorption and understanding is different. Here, of course, I would like to just quote a small example of how I learned the composition Sri Nathadi Guru Guho in Maya Malagola, composition of Dikshidhar, when I was doing my BA. At that time, of course, the purpose of learning the composition was only to pass the examination. So the idea was to perfect it to a mediocre level, at least to be able to pass out with some good marks. But now, after so many years, I am revisiting that same composition. When I was teaching it to my students, I was able to see that I'm able to look into so many deeper layers of the composition now. In the sense that, deeper layers in the sense that it is the same composition. But now I'm able to appreciate, after so many years, how Dikshidhar has looked at Maya Malagola through that composition, how he has structured the whole composition, what are the intricacies of the ragam that he has interwoven into the composition, how the talam and the ragam, that is the melody, and the lyrics are balanced so beautifully, what are the lyrical excellences, what is the poetic beauty, and what are the additional features that he has added to that particular song to make it so exemplary. So thus we see that in the learning process of music, at every stage, it's a different kind of a experience for us.
CM 365, all about Carnatic music.